And now it's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. We are so excited to be back with you guys again tonight. This is part 2. Listen, last night was so incredible that we had to rename it. We had to give it the name that Alan gave it. Alan said it's time to let the cat out of the bag. Now, if you missed last night, you probably have no idea what that means. But stick around. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more of that. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. If you are watching from Facebook, I appreciate it. I understand that I have people watching from South Korea, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, even Africa. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. But do me a favor. All I need you to do is just hit that share button, okay? Hit the share button so everyone on your page will be able to view the broadcast. We'd appreciate that. And if you're watching from YouTube, just subscribe to the channel. You're already there. Well, I am so excited to be with you guys again tonight. We had some technical difficulty. Now, you know what they always say, Alan? The devil. Oh, the devil just gets into it. Well, we're going to blame everything on him tonight, right? But listen, guys, we're still excited. We've had some technical difficulties. Hopefully, everyone will be able to get back on. But we're here, and we're excited for another conversation. We're going to have a candid conversation tonight about the petition, because as you know, we do have a petition out there that we need you guys to sign and participate. And we hope that by the end of this broadcast, you will understand why it's so important. Okay? Now, just like last night and any other night on the Ella Johnson Show, if you have any questions or comments, just put them in the comment section. And from time to time, you may see your comment appear on the screen. And we appreciate that. And we welcome any type of comments that you may have or questions. But let you guys meet my guests. They are all natives from Monroeville, Alabama. I know you guys recognize them. The others are coming on. But I have Lori. Do you guys remember Lori? Lori Dutton Eggleston. She was one of my cheerleader buddies. I used to stand on her shoulders. Now, we could try that again, Lori, but it might not work out like we want, you know? Might not work out like we want, but I am so excited to have you. Lori was born and raised in Monroe. She left in 1984 when her dad was diagnosed with cancer, and they wanted to be closer to family, so they moved to Virginia. And her mom taught while they were here. She taught at Excel and Monroe Junior High School. I remember those days. Yeah.
She was our cheerleader sponsor.
She was our sponsor as well. Yes, she was. And she has 2 girls, beautiful, beautiful girls. She left and graduated from the University of Texas and Appalachian State University. She earned her Bachelor of Social Work. My daughter has a social work degree with USC. So awesome. I love the social workers. She worked for the Department of Social Services in Charlotte for 6 years and a living counselor for 2 group homes. She worked foster care till 2005. She went back, got her master's in school counseling from East Tennessee State University, and she's been a high school counselor ever since. We'd love to have someone like you at Monroe County High, a counselor like you. That would have been awesome. Yeah. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show again, Lori.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Awesome. And remind me, I know you have to get out a little early tonight, but before you go, we definitely want to show the video because you guys want to see this. Her daughter did an awesome Black Lives Matter video with her school, Tennessee State.
No, University of Texas.
University of Texas. Okay. University of Texas. And we're going to show that video to you guys because I think anytime our young people do something that's productive and impactful, we should definitely share it. Next, we have Alan. Now, those of you who are watching, everybody knows Alan Malone. Like, that's a household name in Monroeville, Alabama. Right, Alan? Did you know you were a household name?
I learn something new every day.
Well, yes. And thank you so much for giving a title to our show tonight. It's time to let the cat out of the bag. Well, Alan, I've been knowing you for quite a while, Alan. You played the piano for us at Bethel. And he made being in the choir fun. I mean, like, we look forward to it. You kind of gave it a soulful teenager fun thing. So we looked forward to going to church and choir practice and everything. But he graduated in '83 from Monroe County High School. He's a graduate of Tennessee State University and Alabama A&M University. He's the son of a preacher. Everybody knows Reverend John Malone. His brother is actually my classmate and Lori's old classmate. So we're excited about that. Hey, Jess Henry. He's a former director of the Student Support Services at Drake State Community and Technical College. He's a former principal at Decatur City Schools. And I say former because he is now retired. You're too young to be retired, Alan, but welcome to the Ella Johnson Show again.
It's good to be here for part 2.
I know. Did we not have an awesome conversation last night, guys?
Great conversation.
Oh yeah, yes. It was necessary, and I've gotten a lot of feedback on it today,
Right.
So we're going to do a little bit more of it tonight, but this time we're going to have a little fun tonight. I didn't even tell you guys about this, but I'm waiting for everybody. Looks like Deetra is almost there. But we're going to have a little fun tonight because, last night we talked about the petition. Now, granted, the petition is very necessary because we really want everyone that's watching this broadcast to be a part of that. Now, what the petition is that we are petitioning the Attorney General of Alabama to reopen the Rhonda Morrison murder case. Now, everyone knows that Johnny D was the one that was charged and put on death row for that, but he didn't do it. Who did? Mm-hmm. So that's not finished. And the people who were responsible for Johnny D being in that jail cell and sitting on death row for 6 years has to also pay for what they did. So all of that is part of what this petition is for. So we're going to, in the broadcast at some point, we're going to put that link there so that you guys can click on it and join us in this petition. So, guys, have you all been following the Chauvin trial again today? I know we touched on this a little bit last night. What are your thoughts on it, Alan? I know you have some thoughts on it. What are you thinking?
Well, today, all of the witnesses that they've had so far have been very good witnesses. Today, they had George Floyd's girlfriend of 3 years there, and her testimony, everybody was very emotional, but hers, helped to put the puzzle together, even though they're trying to say that, the drugs in his system were really the deciding factor. She begs to differ, said that he, exercised on a regular basis, push-ups, sit-ups, played football, had a healthy appetite, those kinds of things, So I still see this as an open shut case.
I do too, but why do you think they're making such a big deal about the drug situation? Because I guess in one part, it could be that they are trying to say that's what killed him and that it's possible that he could have died from that and not the officer. But I don't see the connection. Help me understand.
Well, the connection is, let's imagine that no videos existed. If no videos existed, then they wouldn't even have to, have this conversation at all. But because the video is so telling, they have to set up a defense. And so this talk about the drugs is but a distraction. But they don't have a case. That's their problem. So they have to create a distraction. That's my view.
What do you think, Lori?
I agree. I think that his girlfriend did a really good job today of, making him a person. They even asked at one point, what was the name that he called you, like on his phone? How did he have you in his phone? And she was like, he had me in his mama or something, And so I think that it really, helped people to see him as, a living, breathing person that people loved and people counted on and people, enjoyed having in their life. And I agree. I think that they're trying to somehow, say that his use of drugs or, his experience with drugs or him, possibly being on drugs was the reason he died, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that, the part that was getting me a little riled up is how the EMTs, how they responded to this situation. They showed the video of the guy walking over and checking the pulse while the officer was still in his neck.
Yes.
And you would have thought in his profession, he'd be like, okay, dude, let up, we got him. But he was still there. And they brought out how he didn't have to restrain him in that way. Once you get him under control, okay, fine. You say he resisted arrest. That may work for 1 minute, but you used it for 8 minutes. You didn't have to. You could have turned him over if you just wanted to keep him in handcuffs. You didn't have to leave him there. You intentionally made it where this man's breathing was restricted.
Yes, even his boss said, his sergeant said that once he was restrained, subdued, that was unnecessary. Everything was unnecessary after that. That was his boss that said that. So, that's very damning for Chauvin.
I think so. And I like to watch it on Fox because that's where I get a lot of the ridiculous comments. And for some reason, I just like watching the ridiculous comments. I think because I like to pick a fight. But anyway, I was watching where the mindset of everyone is he was not a model citizen. He was a dope head. I'm hearing these kinds of comments, and I'm thinking, Alan, that this has somehow become the climate of this country. That it's all about him now, and they're taking the blame away from the officer. I don't care if he was smoking crack right then. He did not deserve to die.
Right. Well, you have to also remember that after the police looked at the case, Chauvin was what? Fired. And you don't get fired unless there's probable cause for you to be fired, i.e. you didn't follow police procedures. So that doesn't help him either. Were fired. If they thought he didn't do anything wrong, he'd still be on the force, doing desk duty.
Right.
He was fired.
Well, I tell you what, one of the things I also saw in there, Lori and Alan, is that people were saying, listen, if this thing doesn't go the way it should go, we're back in the street. Just like we were talking about last night. Right. And I can't blame them. I know, God forgive me I don't want people burning down buildings. I'm not saying that. But being outraged is necessary and is understandable because everyone says follow the rules. Don't worry about trying to fight it. Let the law handle it. And it just never seems to do that when it comes to us.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Can you think of a time where someone was convicted in these types of situations? Because I was trying to think about that today. I'm like, have I ever thought about it? Because I know for Trayvon Martin, it didn't work. For Michael Brown didn't work. Tamir Rice. Was anybody actually convicted?
No, and I think that's one thing that you were talking about last night with Sheriff Tate. Is a lot of times the officers have this. They aren't able to or they can't be charged with anything because they were doing their job. And I don't know I don't think that's right. I think they were, breaking the law when they did that, and they deserve to be punished as well.
I agree. And you know what I want people to think about as we're watching this, because you made a very good point last night, Alan, when you said that what this case is doing is it's putting America on Front Street. And we're getting to see what you really think about citizens, because at this point, you got to throw out his drug habit. You got to throw out none of that matters. This man had a knee in his neck. That's what we need to keep the conversation at. And we're seeing, because when I think about it, I think about Johnny D. I think about corrupt police. I think about, in this case, you have corrupt police that have this mindset, because what happens is we don't know the heart of every officer that's out there that's supposed to protect us. We don't know which ones are actually infiltrated into the police force. Yes, you do have a lot of good cops, but you also have some that are also members of KKK. And I think that this is where our history comes into play, Alan, because that is exactly what cops were at one point. They were slave watchers, correct?
Right.
So that mindset didn't go anywhere. And I think that what we're seeing is that they feel like that they can just strike anybody when they get out of line. And that's not how it is. And because of times like this, what we're doing, this is how we set the precedent that no, we're not taking that anymore. And it's like the time is out for all the waiting. We've done that. Okay. But anyway, guys, I'm trying to bring Laura in, guys, but it seems like she's having some technical difficulty. We can hear you, but there's an echo. I can hear me. So,
you want to mute me until you ask me a question?
That sounds good.
Okay.
We'll do that. All right. Okay, guys. Wait a minute. I'm trying to mute her so we don't hear. There we go. Okay. So what I want to do, this is how we're going to start tonight out. Are you guys excited? Yay! Yeah. Everybody excited? Okay, good. All right. This is what we're going to do. Because we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to give each one of you a question. Since you guys are educators and teachers and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to take my stab at it. How about that? Now, I know that I would probably never cut it as a teacher. Okay. I know I wouldn't cut it as a teacher. You guys are awesome. I love you for being teachers and educators. I wouldn't cut it because, I just wouldn't cut it. So tonight I'm going to do this. I want each one of you, because I really want to get into your head, and I want my viewers to get something out of this conversation as we finish up this part 2 tonight. I want each of you to answer. There's 3 questions. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys time. And while you guys are thinking about your answer, we're going to show that video, Lori. How about that?
Good.
So that it looks like Deetra's trying to get in. I hope she gets in. It's saying her device is not connected right now. But here's the question. I wanted to wait for her to come on so she can get it as well. All right. Now, everyone knows that on April 15th, Pete Early is going to be here on the Ella Johnson Show. And that's going to be an awesome show. And I want you guys to kind of be a part of it, because I want to pick your brain so that we can have a productive show and productive conversation. So I want you guys to answer these 3 questions. What can you say to our viewers about why you support this petition and why they should too? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, have you ever experienced racism? And if so, how did you handle it? If not, what would you like to say to the people who have experienced it? That's question number 2.
One more time on question number 2.
Have you ever experienced racism? And if so, how did you handle it? If not, what would you like to say to the people who have experienced it? And the third question is, what would you like to ask Pete Early? Those are the 3 questions that I have for you guys. And while you guys, do you need me to repeat any of those questions? You guys got it?
Good.
They're like, Ella, really? Okay, well, do your thing. All right, guys, well, we're going to take, while they're doing that, I want you guys to check out this video because we got this video today. Lori's daughter. Which one? I'm sorry. Which one is it?
This is Logan, who's at University of Texas.
Logan at University of Texas. And I want you guys to watch this because I am especially proud of her. Logan, I am proud of you. If you watch this broadcast, you keep doing it, because not only is she super in volleyball, I mean, she's exceptional. I mean, she's gotten so many awards and championships. She's actually there on a scholarship for volleyball, correct? And yes. I can't wait until that day that we actually get a chance to go to her game. But for right now, I want you guys to take a look at this video and see how she's playing her part in Black Lives Matter. This is pretty awesome. When we come back, these 4 here are going to answer those questions for us. We'll be right back.
The time for change is now.
If you care about me when I do this,
Or when I do this, you should care about us when we do this. I won't always be an athlete, but I will forever be a Black woman.
you've had my back here.
Now, have my back here. No one should feel unsafe due to the color of their skin.
All lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Join us in the fight to end systemic racism.
Black lives matter.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Black lives matter.
Could you tell which one
Awesome.
was mine?
Well, she's the one that's the very first with
Right,
the curly
right.
hair.
Yes.
Here,
that's
let me
my
show you
baby.
guys. Let me just freeze it on the scenes on the screen right here. The very first one.
The time for change is now.
If you care about me when I
That's
Yes.
her. Isn't that awesome? Tell her we're so proud of her, Lori. That is awesome because she's doing it. You know, Black lives do matter.
And,
All right.
and she and one of the other girls actually wrote the wrote the whole the whole
script
video,
for it? Really?
the script for it and everything.
Wow,
So,
nice.
yeah,
I love it. I
Very
love it.
proud.
Really good, really good.
Very
That is
proud.
very good. I'm very proud of her. Looks like we got Deshawn. All right. Let me make sure she's got her hair together. There's Miss Beautiful.
She's still at work, looks like.
I can't
Hello.
get on the computer for some reason.
You can't. I can hear you.
Oh, good to hear you.
Can you hear us?
Can y'all hear me? I had to use my phone. I can't get on my computer. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Do
you.
I need to get earbuds?
Yeah, that'll be better. So while she's doing that, guys, all right, who wants to go first? Alan, you get to go first. You're the one. You know how the teacher gets to pick on the one that she has to call on? It's usually the one that looks like he's hiding something. That's the one we call first.
Yes, I used to sit in the back.
Yeah, that was me.
Yes, well, first of all,
Let me say the question again so that everybody will follow. Okay, if you just tuned into the Ella Johnson show, I am playing teacher tonight, and I want to challenge each one of my guests to 3 questions. And Alan is getting ready to answer the first question. And that question is, what can you say to our viewers about why you support this petition and why they should too? That's the first question. All right, Alan, let's have it.
Okay, well, I think this provides, first of all, an opportunity for those who have been skeptical about getting involved. This provides a grand opportunity for them to get involved. If you are a criminal justice major, if you have criminal justice intentions, this is a wonderful case for you to even do your dissertation on, and perhaps you could research something that would cause a solution or a movement to start. But this is something, this is a case that's very, I think at this point it's necessary for it to have some attention until it is resolved.
Okay. So we're going to go one by one. Lori, you give us your answer to that question. Do I need to read it again, or you guys got it?
No, I mean, I think that, I've always been very, interested in this case and just how absolutely ridiculous it was and how everything happened. And, I got a lot of my information initially from circumstantial evidence from the book that Pete Early wrote. And then, when Just Mercy came out, I was actually kind of, surprised. I didn't know they were making it. And I was like, wait a minute, this is about Monroeville again. In this particular case. And, I just think it's because of fairness. I mean, I think that, I signed it because I want Johnny D to be completely exonerated in everyone's eyes. And I also, think that it's our responsibility to hold the justice system accountable and to for the Morrisons, let's find who killed their daughter. Let's figure out, and hold that person accountable. for her murder. I think that's fair. That's fairness, and that's what everyone deserves.
Okay. All right. I'm going to unmute you now, Laura. So give us your answer, dear.
I support the petition because on a very personal level, since I lived next door to Rhonda and her parents for Rhonda's first 15 years. We moved away just very shortly before she was killed. She and my brother Rodney are just a few weeks apart in age, and they grew up together in class. They were thick as thieves. They even dressed up together for Halloween. I was at the Morrison's house the night of the murder. I saw Charles's face. It's and Bertha's voice is something you don't ever forget. They asked me to do Rhonda's makeup for the funeral, and that was something that I had always done with her when she was a young girl, playing makeup and dressing up as an older sister type for her, since she didn't have any siblings. So that was really a very poignant time for me. I'll never forget a moment of it. It was kind of a way that I said goodbye to her, but it wasn't the right time to say goodbye. And as the years went on and the case started going in the direction it went in, I never felt confident that it was done correctly, or that they had the right person. So when Johnny D. McMillan was exonerated and finally taken off death row, it was a victory for justice. However, it was not a victory for the Morrisons, because that person who murdered their daughter is still at large and still living his life in freedom, and I don't think he needs to be.
Good job. So you think we need to catch the killer?
I definitely think so. Yes.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
Deshawn.
Mhm.
Let me see here. I think she's muted. Are you muted?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here? Okay. Well, you got to join the party, because what happened is we have 3 questions that I'm giving everybody, because tonight I'm the teacher and you guys are the students. Since you guys are all educators, tonight I'm going to be the teacher. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot because you didn't get a chance to hear the question. But I know you're so sharp. You don't need time. Well, the first question is, what can you say to our viewers about why you support this petition and why they should too?
Well, I think that Rhonda deserves justice. My main concern is the sensitivity of how her mom feels on anything that's done. I think that, whatever is done should be, with her approval. But I think that ultimately Rhonda deserves justice, and she can't speak for herself. She needs someone to stand up for her, because she can't speak for herself. And science and technology being what it is today, if there is something we can do to get justice for Rhonda, we need to do that. We need to go hard in the paint. We need to make T-shirts, put it on a billboard, have the kids that make signs and posters. If it won't ruffle the feathers of her mother, or have her mom feeling too bad, let's push it. I think that Rhonda deserves justice, and we all need to use whatever resources we have to try to get justice for Rhonda.
Excellent answer. Now we're going to go to the second one, because from these questions, guys, that's where we're going to start our conversation tonight, because Lori has to get out early tonight. So I want to make sure that she gets a chance to answer all 3 of the questions. Now, question number 2, I'm going to put it out there, Dietrich, so you can hear it. They've already heard it. Have you ever experienced racism? And if so, how did you handle it? If not, what would you like to say to the people? What would you like to say to the people who have experienced it? All right, Alan, you're up next. You're up first.
Alan, you're muted.
Alan, you're muted. Alan, you're muted. There you
All right,
are.
here
Yes.
All right. Well, what I was saying was that we were largely protected from that, but as we got older, we began to, deal with it, but we never really, well, I didn't have a whole lot of cases, until really maybe 11th, 12th grade, you began to see a little bit. And there's always talk about, Monroe County High versus MA kind of thing. But, it was largely after the fact, after we left going to college, that we really kind of looked back down the interstate and says, you know what, it was there, but it was after the fact that we really learned how to deal with it. It was almost like there were cliff notes of it while we were still in high school, but we were able to see the whole picture of it after the fact because we matured after we left.
So then basically for you, not really.
Not really.
You haven't experienced it. Okay. All right, Lori.
I think, personally myself, I have never been a victim of racism, but I've been around it. I was telling a story earlier about, when my dad was coaching at the junior college, a lot of, we would always do the bus. My mom kept the scorebook, so we always went on all the trips and, to all the games. And, there was a point when we were making, brown bag sandwiches and stuff for the team after the games, because as my mom just told me, we couldn't stop at restaurants because they wouldn't allow the Black players to come into the restaurant, to a McDonald's.
What year was that? What year was that?
This was 70s, probably 74, 75, 76. Yeah, we moved there. They moved there in 70, right before I was born. And so, I think a lot of things happened around me that I didn't realize when I was younger. And, as I got older, I would see it around me. I would see it. And I think that, the one thing that I can say to the people that have experienced it or who are experiencing it is just like I said about bullying. I mean, those of us that have the privilege of not being, having prejudice against us or experiencing racism, we have to speak up. We have to be the ones to say something about it, to bring it to people's attention, to comment about it, and to not just let it pass, not just be a quiet bystander. We have to do what we have to, do to take care of our brothers and sisters, whatever colors they are.
Now, both of you answered the question, but there was a second part to it. And the second part was, if not, what would you say to people who have? Because there are people watching this broadcast, obviously don't have the same experiences that you do. So I want you guys, before I go to the third person, tell me what would you say to those people who have experienced racism, who has lost a child as a result of a cop killing them? They're unarmed and, what would you say to those people who have experienced that? I'm going to start with you, Alan.
Well, I would say that it's very necessary for parents today to be very upfront with their children and teach them how to deal with it. What to say, what not to say. If you're stopped by a policeman, what to do. And, we tend to be guilty of using our hands to talk, with gestures. Well, in the police world, they don't always understand that. They're always watching what you do with your hands. If you put your hands in your pocket, or if you put your hands behind, those gestures, those sudden movements. So it's very important that parents teach. They have to have a conversation, because our kids these days, they take a whole lot of things for granted, and it passes by them every day in one way or another. For example, it's something as small as, well, if you don't join the booster club for football or basketball, then it determines how much playing time you get. But then the coach's son always gets to start. Those kinds of things that the kids have to be taught how to deal with all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, it's a lot different than us. Lori,
Yes.
what would you say to people who have experienced it?
I'm sorry.
You're
I mean, that's all I can, what can I say? I mean, I'm sorry that it happens. I'm sorry it continues to happen. I wish I could make it all go away. But, I can't. And I just have to do what little part I can to let those that have experienced it to know that I can't, I can't possibly understand what it's like to be in your shoes or to be in your skin, but I sympathize and empathize with you and want to help in any way I can.
You know why I love that, Lori, and why I love you? Because you are getting to experience both sides of it. You're getting to experience the side where sometimes people look at you and they may have did you ever have to deal with people looking at you and your husband funny?
Yes.
Because from which side did you experience that though?
Well, I think, a lot of it when we lived, one of the reasons that we moved to Nashville was, where we lived in East Tennessee was a little bit more, I think, prejudiced than it is here. And, we would go out as a family and I could see the sneers. I could see, the looks that we would get, but it was hard for me to be able to internalize it because I'd never dealt with it before. And, I get angry and, because like I said last night, I mean, I love who I love and,
right.
I don't, regret anything about my life. I love my children with all my heart and think that they, are the best in the world. And, but I do realize now that, they are experiencing things that I never had to experience because of, the color of their skin. And I don't know how to help them with that other than just love them, just try to listen and support in any way that I can.
I love that. Okay, we're going to unmute Laura right now because she's having some echo. That's why I mute her, but I want her to be a part of this so we're not taking her completely off. All right, dear. You can answer that question now. You want me to repeat it? Or you got it?
No, I've got it. I can answer it twofold from the perspective of me personally and the perspective of being a mother of a son who is biracial. My husband and I are both white, and when we adopted our family, we did not put any stipulations on race for the child that we would choose because it was important to us to have a child and not a color. And Richard was placed with us when he was 2 days old. His father was Black, his mother was white. He was wonderful and still is. We didn't really have any issues with our family, extended or immediate, or friends. They embraced it completely and loved us. And in fact, friends down the road and years later would actually forget that we were a multi-race family, and people would ask, do you know anybody who is a multi-race family? And they would think, no, I really can't think of anybody. And of course they knew us and kicked themselves later. But as far as racism is concerned, we tried very early on to address the fact that Richard was wonderful, that his color was beautiful. Even at bath time, we would just tell him how beautiful he was and how pretty he was. And we do that to our daughter too, but I thought it was important that he know that he was beautiful to us and that he was just beautiful and wonderful. And he's always grown up with that self-confidence.
But have you guys experienced racism though?
We did. There were several times when we'd enter a restaurant where we would either not be served or served quickly. or people would get up and leave, and make sneering remarks. And that was very heartbreaking for us.
How did you handle it?
We tried very hard not to let on to the children because they were so young that that was going on. Many times if we felt like it was bad enough, we either left or we just didn't go back and visit that place anymore, ever.
But have you ever had a conversation with him about why? Because he's getting older now, correct?
Oh, he's 26. He's been
Oh,
living
okay.
on
So he's well aware now.
Yeah, he is very much so. Yeah. We
Good.
did have the talk, like Alan was talking about having to teach your child how to behave if they're pulled over by the police. And Richard had complained that he had been pulled over more often than he thought he should have been. We had to tell him how sorry we were that we had to have the talk about the police and racism, but that it wasn't fair. He needed to just be mindful that he had to be extra careful. Hands on the wheel, 10 and 2. Yes, sir. No, sir. Only answer questions you're asked. Don't elaborate or offer any other information that is not necessary. Be polite. It's the same advice we would give any child, but our fear was in a world where more often than not, young Black men are targeted by the police and are victims of the police in of course the cases that we were talking about earlier. We had to, in good conscience, tell him that it wasn't fair. We were aware of it and how he can cope and we can cope together as a family. But he's always known we've had his back. If there was ever a problem, school, at work, in any way possible, we'd always back him up. So he had our full support. He's a wonderful kid.
That's good. Okay, Deshawn.
Yes, I think every Black person has probably experienced racism. If I think back to Monroeville, living there, I can't really just say I had a racist moment. I clearly realized the Black and white were divided in Monroeville based upon how we communicated with each other at school. And, some instances I can think of as an adult, just it depends on how you carry yourself and some of the things you choose to purchase, where you choose to live. Sometimes you can fall into a stereotype, which make you a target, for racist moments. And when my husband and I had been married approximately 10 years, had a baby, bought a black Cadillac Escalade. When we bought that Cadillac Escalade, we were being stopped by the police probably daily. And it just got out of hand to the point where I had to begin to call the chiefs of police and the sheriffs and tell them, you got to stop stopping our ride. We got a newborn in the car. We bought this vehicle trying to protect our newborn, but it was bringing, it was attracting the wrong thing. We was thinking about safety on the interstate, but we were being profiled driving that car. Now that my son is 14, when I bought that car, I was thinking, if we maintain that truck for 16 years, it would be his. It would be a great investment for him to have. It's no way I would let my 16-year-old drive a black SUV, no kind. I would not, and probably not an SUV, period. Definitely not with tinted windows, because I know he'll be a target. I've been a target in it, and we were 30-something years old when we got it. Front windows with no tint. They could see directly in there, So my just so happened my son is an outstanding athlete, And it's a challenge to keep him among the best, with the best, and even with providing him with private coaches and making sure he's making all A's, he's doing everything he needs to do. It's still a challenge to make sure he's being provided equal chances as other young boys, because he's probably the 2% of the top. Black kids are not. He's in baseball. Black kids don't pursue baseball, so it's a white sport. So it's a challenge for us to keep him playing, keep him on a good team with good coaches, even though he has the skill. So just, I'm seeing a lot. We had our kids late. I see more probably through my kids. When it was happening to me, it's something I could just turn my back, navigate around. But now that I'm trying to raise kids, I can see it. And it hurts a little more when you see it.
Of course.
And you're trying to do the best you can do with your kid.
Now, Ellen, this is very interesting what Deshawn is saying, because she and her husband have worked very hard their entire life. They're both very educated. They're living the life. They're living the dream, if you will. And they're living in nice areas, and they're doing what everyone says you're supposed to do if you want to have a good life. Then you get there, and then she's still having to deal with racism. She doesn't want to give her son the Escalade because of how he may be profiled in it. Now, we need to understand. I mean, because you're a Black man. You're the only Black man on this panel. Mm-hmm. What would you say to her son?
Well, first of all, they have done right by making sure that their child knows what to do in certain situations. But there are so many stereotypes, just like what she's talking about. My son is he's 14 years old, and he's looking forward to getting a permit, a driver's license, and a car with rims on it. And that is a recipe for trouble. The same kind of trouble that she's talking about. What happened to just getting granddaddy's car and driving it to school? That's not cool. So we have to be willing as parents to explain, sometimes what's cool is not safe. It may not be safe. It'll put you in an unsafe situation. Even with the Xbox, the later those kids are on the Xbox, the more prone they are to predators on that system. So they think I'm the meanest dad in the world when I say, look, you need to get off at no later than 10 o'clock or whatever on the weekends. I'm the meanest dad in the world. But they don't understand that. But then if we flip the coin over, because the students were put in a virtual situation, well, guess what else was also true? Xbox was the only way that they were able to socialize with their friends. So it's almost like you had to take that chance by allowing them extra time there, even after they, would get their lesson or whatever. But it's just so many situations now. It used to just be, racism is not just one situation.
Right.
Racism is the big umbrella where there's so many different things now that we have to teach our kids to be aware of. So, we go to school. I've been to school every day with my son, so to speak, because a different something comes up every week that they're having to deal with, way beyond just virtual, returning back to 5 days in the building. And okay, so here it is in the state of Alabama, April the 9th, they're taking off the mask, that's another conversation, no kids of that age group have even been vaccinated yet, so, that's a whole lot that we have to, okay, now how we're going to explain this one? What if my child is the only child is walking around the school still with a mask on? Will he be picked on just because he's trying to be safe?
Now, let me ask all of you a question. I'm sure by now all of your children, because they're of age, I'm not sure, Dietrich, because yours are younger, but they've all had access to the internet, and they know about George Floyd. I'm sure they've seen it. It's all over, everywhere. It's in even other countries right now. This has gained national attention. What do you say? How do you explain that situation to your kids? I'm going to start with you, Laura. Because you have, I think you and Alan probably have the older kids. How do you explain that to your son?
Well, and my daughter too.
And your daughter too, yeah.
She's 25. I tell them how I feel about it and how horrific it was to watch a man die on live TV, and people, him begging for his life, and people telling the police, get off of him, let him go. There were 100 things that police officer could have done differently to have saved his life. He didn't make the right choices, and here we all have that burned into our memory. Back to what I tell my children, though, I think they know my values. They know their daddy's values. They know that racism is not tolerated in our family, never has been. And it's not just black-white racism that I'm talking about. There's in our community, we have Koreans, we have people from Eastern Europe, we have a lot of Mexican immigrants and Guatemalan immigrants here. And there is zero tolerance in our family for racism. If it has ever come out, or one of us perceives another family member to have made a racist comment, we call them out on it immediately, and and we discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I would like to know, I mean, and Alan, just, being the brother of a police officer, how has this affected, did Jess Henry, I mean, being a police officer, how did he respond to something, to this happening, to just the things that have happened in the past with police and, brown children? I mean, how has that been?
I like that. That was part of what I was going to talk about, is the fact that, my brother, Jess Henry, is the kind of brother that he chooses to rise above it. When he left Monroeville as a policeman, he came up here. And when he came to Huntsville, he was the first of everything in HPD, in the Huntsville Police Department. The first black sergeant, the first black lieutenant, the first captain in the history of the department. And so, Huntsville still is a predominantly the blacks and Asians and brown, we'll say black and brown, are still the minority here, but there are so many city entities that still are waiting to be integrated, and HPD was one of them. And so now, by the time it was time for him to retire, we're all, half of us are up here. So I have, it's 4 of us up here, including him, and the other half are still down south. So we're all sitting there at his retirement ceremony, and they're just, these accolades keep coming. He was able to do things in his position that made it better for everybody, but especially for making it better for black and brown and and females, because all of them were overlooked in the police department. The police department in Huntsville was a predominantly white male organization, right? Now, and the other thing that I wanted to say on this is my oldest son, is 29. He'll be 30 in October. He currently works for FedEx. And so his route is in the Hartsville and Coleman area. So if anybody knows anything about Hartsville and Coleman, you already know. So I tend to check in on him because that's his route. And so he is delivering packages in a very racist area. But he has established himself such that they don't bother him. Probably by now they know that he has some kinfolks that are quietly or crazy or whatever they want to call them. So
whatever you need it to mean. Yes, absolutely.
So, he showed me a picture of a yard where he was delivering a package, and they had a black person with rebel flags and ropes, and also that was their yard. That was their display in their yard. But he still got to deliver these packages,
right?
So I really have had to have a conversation with him when I found out where his route was, and so far he's been fine, but we check in every week. You good out there? Okay. Because, here he is, 29, he's working, and I still have to talk to a 29-year-old.
Of course, because it's still happening. That's why.
That's
still
right.
happening. Yeah.
Right.
We don't get a chance to resign from being parents.
Right.
It's a lifetime job, So my oldest brother, he was John. He's a retired state trooper. Same kind of stuff. He rose above it, He ended up retiring as captain there, and so he worked all over the place, from Montgomery all the way down to the water in Mobile. He worked everywhere, and so he has stories to tell too. But it's all about relationships and how you handle yourself when you are in those predicaments.
Now, I want to bring up Patricia Alexander's comment. She said, so true, Alan. However, it shouldn't be that way. When you were giving the answer about Deshaun and her son, why are blacks stereotyped for everything we do? If you have dreads, if you have a nice car with rims, tattoo, whatever the case may be, why do we have to just have that talk and say, well, I'm not going to give you the car because you're going to get stereotyped. Well, don't wear this. Don't do your hair this way. Don't date this person. Because then the list will grow. So at some point, we have to find a way to change that to where it doesn't happen. And that's what I think we have to eventually get to. I don't know how we get there, but that's what we have to change. We shouldn't have to keep altering what we like and love and where we want to live and who we want to date just because of history. Let's change it to where it's like, yeah, we did that before. Because then my thing is, what did all the Civil Rights Acts, all the Voting Rights Act, now Georgia is dealing with this voter suppression bill. Like, what was all of that for if we're going backwards?
Well, that is what it's for. So that we can, so blacks and minorities can stay backwards, stay down, and because there's this fear of losing power, money, and power. That's the explanation for the border business. Shut down the border because there's too many Hispanics coming in. And they're getting ready to be a part of a majority, and we're getting ready to be a minority. So we'll just shut the border down. Now, go right ahead.
There are some people who believe by the year 2045 that everybody will look pretty much the same. It won't be a black, white, skin tone identity. We will all be beige to brown.
Now, how am I going to ever be beige? That's just not possible unless I see Jesus.
But
And
it's
he
a
decides to
conspiracy theory, and a lot of people believe it.
wow.
I'm straying off a little bit on the point, but I know that a lot of people, we're divided, Republican and Democrats, and we're wondering, well, why can people support that? But I can say for some of the poor white people who are diehard Republicans, their thing is they need help. They need someone to throw them a life jacket. They're
Right.
not Black, they're not brown, there are no programs or anything that they fall into. They don't want to be held responsible for what their ancestors have done. They can't feed their kids, they can't get a good job, they don't have good insurance. So, they are or were looking for Trump to throw that life jacket. So it's racism is now becoming an economics based thing also, and not
Oh, yeah.
Very good point.
just a black and white or race relations thing.
Wow. I'm looking at David Lee's comment. He says that the difference between then and now is very little. That is totally, I mean, that topic, it's like, that's a lot to swallow. But is he right, Deidre?
Well, I think it's a little, I think there are probably more opportunities for us than what we had back in the day. I think the death of George Floyd is monumental. And I think that the people who are already wealthy, and are wealthy on the level of billionaire status, the minorities, Blacks, Browns, and others, they should see the systems that they should be using their monies to build that will further our people rather than go buy $200 million homes. You can almost buy a country for $200 million. So, I know it opened the eyes of the people who hit the street and protested, but hopefully it is going to just change the dynamics of the people who really have the money and can make some difference. I would like to encourage everybody to take a look at the Obama Foundation and all the things that they're trying to do and the avenues that they're trying to help us push forward. Small grassroots programs, any initiative that we see that we can push forward, we need to do that. I do think that we have progressed some. Alan said last night about Miss Debbie Allen. We need to find out who Miss Debbie Allen is, what she has going on, how we can support her.
Absolutely.
Just any small grassroots initiative that we can support, let's jump on it, and support it. But I do think that there are more opportunities because we're seeking those opportunities.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Laura.
Oh, I was going to just reiterate when Alan said something last night, in essence, and I've thought about it often today, that we, as individuals, right here and now, are responsible for the change that must come. And we each need to take responsibility for that in the best ways that we know how. If we don't know how to do it, we get help.
Good point. Good point.
Mhm.
Now I want to. I'm gonna have to mute you again, Laura, because it's definitely echoing. What were you gonna say, Deidre?
No, I was saying she's right.
Right. Absolutely. I think that we have progressed, guys. I do. Of course, we all agree there's plenty more to do. And I think that Alan's cat syndrome is definitely what we need to fall into, because I think wherever we are, whether it's Monroeville or whatever state you're in, I think you have to still do that. If anything around you is not right, God has given each one of us the ability to fix it. And that's why we're having this conversation. But the reason I allowed us to get over the George Floyd, talk about that a little bit, is because it brings me back to our petition with Johnny D. because now I have two women sitting on the panel who has Black children. So you guys are seeing a little bit of what we're talking about. It's not completely foreign. You're kind of getting a little taste of it also. But Johnny D was put on death row. He was sent to death row. We all know that he didn't kill Rhonda. We know that, and we know that's not why he went. We know that he went because he had a relationship with a Caucasian woman. Now, let's go back to 1986. You're living in Monroeville. Your child wants to date someone of a different race. And this could apply to all of us sitting here because we all have our things. Because I mean, I dated people of different race. Do you let them just do it on their own, or do you move them in a certain direction because of where we are in this country? I'm gonna let you go first, Lori, because I know that you have to go soon. So I want you to answer first, and then we'll come to you, Laura.
I think it is a very different conversation to have if you live in Monroeville versus if you live in a northern area. We of course all want the best for our kids. We want them to be safe and happy. We don't want to put any limitations on them, but we also want them, again, to be safe, to be, it's just so hard to, my daughters have both, been interested in both white and Black boys, and I don't care. I think that's, just such a hard conversation to really have. And I wonder back at what would my parents have done in 1986 in Monroeville if I wanted to date a Black boy, we all probably could answer that question. We all probably know exactly what they would have said.
But you know why I asked that, Lori? Because last night you mentioned that in 2010, you went to Monroeville with your Black husband. And he even said this, don't hold my hand because you're going to get me hung.
Right.
That just resonated with me all night.
Yeah.
And it hurt me that he still feels that way.
Yes.
Because he doesn't feel that way where he is now. You guys walk around and you lovey-dovey on each other all the time.
Right.
But when he went back to Alabama,
I think it was that just that idea of what of Alabama, of just you just kind of have ideas and stereotypes of different places in the country, and for him to just still feel like he wasn't safe in an Alabama, a Mississippi, versus if he were in Northern Virginia, it's just a very different, a different situation. And it's sad that I don't even think that way, that he does.
I know. Yeah.
And that's immediately what he thinks of. It's just, I can't.
It's because he does. You grew up in Monroeville and he didn't.
Right.
You're from the South, and obviously he isn't. I still feel comfortable every time I go home. I'll drive all the way through Clausdale. And
me too.
I'll go to Pineview Heights.
Now, why did you put emphasis on Pineview Heights? Because that's my hood. Now
Right,
you said what did you experience drive-bys there or something? I mean, Deshaun, help me out. He put emphasis on Pineview Heights. You could have said Limestone. You could have said Frisco City.
You know why? It's very different,
We got you. I got you. You come to PVH, I got you.
Yeah. So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so if her husband came and they decided to go on a tour, they probably wouldn't go down that way, and feel. I mean, he would probably feel some kind of way, but she might feel comfortable just because she's from Monroeville,
Okay, have you ever been to PVH, Lori?
I don't even know what PVH is. But I mean, like I told you the other night, like I don't ever remember drive. I don't ever.
Well, if you didn't go to
never,
Clausell, you couldn't have made it
Yeah.
to PVH because you have to
Like-
go through Clausell to get there.
Right. Like I never went to your house. I never went to, you know, I mean,
Who
it
used to
just-
give me rides? Because I didn't have any rides. I think Jenny did. Jenny did. She was.
And see, I
brave.
wasn't driving then, you know, I mean, by the time when I left.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's just, you know, I think it's the unknown, the fear of the unknown, the fear, you know, not being comfortable.
Because it's a possibility, Lori, that your daughter
Right.
could decide to date Black. And she's in a white neighborhood and she could start getting the eye. You know, because it's not gone. It's still, I mean, it's still, I don't think anyone has gotten to a point to where they don't care about race. It comes out in subtle ways. So
Yes.
I just wonder for you, what happens if she comes to you and says, Mom, you know, now your kids are probably, they're so headstrong. They probably handle it. I love them for that. But I'm just saying, in a real world, they're still kids and they're
Right.
still having to make adult decisions. And I just don't know where or how you guys would lead them in that. So I'm going to let you answer now, Laura, on that. Let me unmute you first, though. Okay.
The rules in my house were pretty clear. You were not able to date outside of your race. And if it weren't just said outright, it was made to feel that very way. Whether it was right or wrong, and you know, in retrospect, I look back and think it is a racist statement to say, but it was my parents' belief, and I respected their beliefs. I didn't subscribe to him as I got older, especially after I married. Not that I didn't, I stopped dating after I married, but my beliefs changed about race relations.
Which is secret is safe with me if you did. I'm just saying.
Date whom, yeah. So when the time came for me to have the talk with my children, I made it perfectly clear that they could date whomever they wanted to. They absolutely were not limited in any way to race or religion or I mean, we preferred them not to date somebody 10 or 15 years older than them, of course, but you know, somebody that they really loved. And that was important, that they know how we felt about that, and that it was an open book for them, including the gay and straight talk. And I said, you know, if you tell us one day that you're gay, it's not going to change how your dad and I love you. We're going to still love you the same way. And it's same for Aaron. But we did say to both of them that if you come home with a baby and you expect us to raise your baby, it's not going to happen. I said, we're not going to raise another generation of children when you are not able to do it yourself. So we suggest that you get yourself grown up, get your education, get your money, and then have your family. And that's the way we laid it out for them.
That's
Seemed
good.
to work. They both are kind of age now where they can be parents. But yeah.
Now, you said something very interesting. You said that your parents did not believe in dating outside the race. There are people that still think that.
I don't think that they believed that because they had any animosity toward the other races at all. I think it was how they thought the family unit would be perceived by other people. A lot of it was fear. A lot of it was the fear of perception among your family and your peers. Not everyone in my extended family feels the way I do. And I'm talking about both sides of my family. My immediate family, of course, we're all very like-minded. And I only wish my father could have lived long enough to enjoy watching Richard grow to such a fine young man.
Yeah.
He would have been so proud of him.
I'm
Richard
sure.
was 8 weeks old when my dad passed, so he didn't get to know him. And it was, it would have been something, it would have brought him a lot of joy. In fact, about race and racism, before my father passed, I asked him pointedly, I said, why is it that you have never talked about growing up during the Jim Crow era. Everything I ever heard about things that my parents did during that time, I heard secondhand from other family members. They didn't talk about it at home. And my dad thought about it very carefully before he answered me. And he said, I'll tell you why. He said, I don't want any of the things I've heard or seen or things that echo around in my mind to echo around in your mind for the rest of your life. He said, I've tried very hard to suppress the things I've seen, the injustice, the words, the hatred, the fear. I've tried to suppress that in myself and not pass that on to you children. And if that means I've been silent, then I've been silent for that reason. And it was a gift that he walked the walk, and he didn't talk the talk, but he walked the walk. So my dad lived a very good life, and he was obviously a man who loved everyone.
Awesome.
And we could see that. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
produced
so what did you say, Deidre?
I said he produced Laura, so
Yes, he did. And
he
she's
was
beautiful.
the example, right?
Yeah, and I just love how you're raising your children. You're being honest with them. And I think that's key right there. People can see what happened to George Floyd. You have to have that conversation. You have to have that conversation. But the reason I brought it up is to see what kind of conversation we're having. Because the conversations I see on social media are, he was a dopehead, he deserved it. Or he was a bad guy. He wasn't a model citizen. That's why I want to make sure that people are having the right conversations, because all of that, I don't care if he was smoking. I don't care if he had a crack pipe in his mouth at the time he was standing in the store. He did not deserve to die the way he did. So, I think conversations are very key. We have to do that. Now, Alan, do you want to respond to the message that Mr. Terry Johnson left for you?
I saw that. Well, all in fun, but all in seriousness, I know he knows that what I meant by that,
Of course. It's all in fun.
Of course, so they're all in fun, no disrespect. But, I just wanted to make the point that, even after all of these years, those are places where we used to park and then just walk all over the neighborhood playing basketball and just hanging out with our friends and trying not to get so loud that Miss Roberta would come out of her house and it was time to go home, but that's after band practice. That's where,
that was it.
We would go, or go to Miss Callie's house or, so, that was how we had a good time.
Sure.
There was no Xbox and all of that, PlayStations and all of that. We actually talked to our friends, not text message. We actually talked to our friends, and we look forward to the baseball games, and we look forward to the skating rink after church. But
I had the people last week talking about the skating rink, and we had so much fun talking about that. I wish Lori and Laura could have joined us on Soul Night. Y'all missed out. But we had so much fun, right, Deidre? Because it was, and I hate that the kids now are missing out on it, because we were like Sunday, we would, especially on Youth Sunday at Bethel. Oh my gosh, that was the bomb. And then after that, we're going to the skating rink, and then we're going down to Clausdale. Now I'm going to ask you guys, because, I talked about this on the last podcast, where we got our money. Nobody had jobs. Now you guys might have been getting allowances. I didn't. But where did you guys get money from to go to the skating rink and do all this stuff we did, Alan?
You cut grass.
Oh.
You washed your parents' car.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, I played for churches too. But
that's
the
true.
salary
You
was a whole lot back then. The salary, we thought it was a whole lot back then, but it was not a whole lot. But we learned how to manage money. The little money that we had.
That's true.
stretch.
Absolutely. We
Oh yeah,
did.
we cut yards. Go get a gallon of gas and push the lawnmower all the way down 3-4 houses down the street. Cut your way back home. That's how we got money.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm not gonna say that I got mine that way, and I don't even know if I want to say how I got mine. It wasn't illegal. Okay, I just didn't have time to cut grass. I was too busy at cheerleader practice, Alan.
yes. But you think about it. We were entrepreneurs back back.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. I
how
never
many
thought about it like that, but it's true, Deetra and Lori and Laura. It's true. Yeah.
I mean, how many people mixed ketchup and mayo together?
I did not. That's disgusting.
Okay, watch this. So now in the grocery store the other day, Heinz is making something that's a combination of that. They're calling it mayo chup.
Are you serious?
Oh, look, and I sent a picture of that bottle to my siblings and say, see, we could have been rich.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Have you heard? Have the rest of you guys heard that? That is disgusting. Absolutely. But when we were growing up too, guys, how many of you, we were those kind of people who knew how to be creative. And I think that, and I credit, and that's the next thing I want to ask you guys. What do you credit growing up with what you're doing today in your life? Are you showing me a picture of it?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if you all can see it.
I can't see it. Looks like just a big white thing there. I'm going to have to check that out. But how much of what you learned growing up do you credit to where you are now, Deetra? Because now you are, you're working with the Secretary of State, you're a realtor. I mean, you've always been a very smart young lady who made good choices. And made, you've just always done things right. But how much of growing up in Bethel, I know you mentioned some of it last night, has put you in the positions you are today?
I will give credit to every good woman in Monroe County that crossed my path, that took time to make me feel good, that took time to motivate me. And that's from, Miss Broughton, my first grade teacher, to Miss Boswell, Miss Malone, my fourth grade teacher, to Mrs. Malone, Alan's mother. She didn't teach me, but she was the school secretary, and even after leaving school, no matter what church, no matter what store, she spoke to you and she let you know what she expected of you.
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd,
Yes.
Pastor Floyd's wife, she was the same way. She slowed down and let you know what she expected of you. Miss Salter, Miss Lambert,
Oh yeah.
Miss Hope,
Dylan Cowles,
Miss M.B. Clausell,
Miss M.B.
Christiana
Miss
Clausell.
Clausell, Miss
Yes.
Nettles,
So many.
just all the good people.
I mean, you see how we're able to rattle it off? I love it.
Right. Miss Sally, Miss Cora, even coming home, Miss Cora, she want to sit and talk to you, know about what your family, what you're doing, so I can just attribute it to all the good role models that were there, that slowed down to motivate you and tell you, you do this. And then some people, Shay Mobley, she right now, she'll call up on the telephone. Well, I heard this, that. But in her own way, she's trying to check on my family, keep me motivated. Crystal Hollinger, I don't even talk to her, and she has sent me so many anonymous gifts. My duration of living in Georgia,
Wow.
it's amazing just to support me and my family and my kids, and like their little fundraisers and stuff.
But you know what's so amazing though, guys, is that we have become them. We're it now.
Mm-hmm.
We're the Christiana
That's what I wanted to
Clausells.
say.
Yeah.
Before you cut me off, I would love to be that woman,
Mm-hmm.
that inspiration
Yes.
that all those women put into me. And I know I left a whole lot of women out, but
It's
I would
okay.
love to be that woman, an ounce of that woman. I can't be as great as those women, but if I could just be a tad bit and be that inspiration for other
But
people.
that's what I see in you, though, Deshaun. I mean, I saw that. I mean, I know I'm older than you are, but I saw that with you growing up. You've always had that. You had that. Kim had that. Kelvin. You just, you're just around certain people that just have that it factor. And I think there were so many of us that hung out together. Tim Wiggins, Paulette, Brett, the whole PVH crew. That's who all ended up at Bethel. Every Sunday we saw each other. We had a history of being together every week. So it's like we knew each other's families. And I think it was so important because, on the last broadcast, we talked about the PTA meetings and how important it is for families to get involved. But, back in those days, it was a real deal that our parents couldn't go to a lot of those meetings. But we were fortunate that half of Bethel were teachers, right?
Teacher. Mm-hmm.
So whether we had a conference or not,
Morning Star was
and
our
Morning
sister
Star.
church. Yeah.
Yeah, Alan, you were at Morning Star and you were at Bethel.
That would be correct. At one point,
well, you were getting paid. I would have been everywhere too.
Yeah, well, no, it was back then. It was just Bethel and Bethany, my dad's church in Burnt Corner.
Okay,
right.
But I wanted to say something. Dietrich said something that made me, kind of think back as well. It was not necessarily the adults slowing down. It was us slowing down and being respectful enough to listen to what they had to say, because, for me, I didn't care who it was. We were taught to respect our elders. And so let me mention one more lady that I have 100+% respect for, even today, Carrie Bell.
Miss Carrie.
Yes. I love her.
And she tells you, she expects a lot from you. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean,
I love
to
her.
this very day, she will call you by your name.
Yep.
25, 30 years later. Is that you, Allie? She knows who you are. And she will hold that same kind of conversation with you that she held with you the last time and 5 years ago and 20 years ago, So we were taught to respect our elders. Everybody has something that we can to offer that we can learn from. That's how we were taught. So, I'm interested in, Bay Clausell was the smartest mathematician in Clausell, in Monroeville. He could tell you numbers and how tall a pole was. I mean, he was a smart guy. He was somebody that you could learn something from. So we were hungry for knowledge like that because that's how we were raised.
Right.
I like what he said to Deshaun and Laura and Lori. I like what you said about respect because we knew better.
Yeah.
We knew better not to suck our teeth at the older people. What would they do, Deshaun, in church if they even caught us talking? They would come.
Yeah,
Miss Oda.
Pinch your ear.
You sitting there getting your ear pinched, and you're like, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me a lot of times in church. Because we would sit on that back row and talk all the time. That's what the problem was.
Yeah, I was telling my siblings, reminding them just the other day, initials meant something back then. Just initials had a high level of respect. JW and JO and LD. Everybody. Everybody, stop doing what you're doing. If you were misbehaving or if you were talking on the back row or chewing gum or passing notes, all when any of those people walked by or you heard they were in the building even, just a different level. There was a different level of respect for preachers and teachers back then, And of course, being a preacher's kid, there was a different expectation of us, so, we had to be the example. Even to this very day, our doorbell at home still rings because some young couple or somebody is coming by wanting some advice on how to handle a situation. And after all these years, they want to talk to mom and daddy or both. So I agree with what Deshaun said. It's our turn. It's our turn. We should want to be those people now.
Right.
Do you want to elaborate? Laura and Lori, I want you guys to chime in. I know that you guys didn't grow up in Clausell or PVH or Crosstown, but you guys did grow up somewhere. So tell us about your experiences.
And I think I really hate that I didn't grow up somewhere that was so close and moving when I was going into ninth grade. I kind of had to start over, and that whole just a group of all of the people I'd grown up with for my whole life weren't there anymore. So it was a very difficult experience to try to kind of start over. So I kind of hate that I didn't get that experience, and I'm jealous of it. I am, and so it's weird. It's something that I look back and always still just have this wonderful warm place in my heart for Monroeville. And I just wish
we have a lot of great memories. Yeah, we have a lot of great memories. Because I think that's why all these years later, I can still call her Deshawn, and though she's she's this, very well-to-do person now, she still understands why Ella will call her Deshawn when her name says Deetra Mobley, because that's just those relationships. These are 30 plus year relationships that you're looking at here. And I think it'll always be good. And I just think that if we can just get a little bit of that back and share these stories with the young people that are growing up in Alabama, that we can build a skating rink and give them those experiences, build a theater. I saw last night. Did you guys see last night where Tyrone Scott said that he wanted to speak to someone in Monroeville about building a theater there for ATL Wood?
Yes.
I mean, I think why hasn't anyone built a theater in Monroeville since? Have you ever thought about that, Deshawn and Lori and Laura?
They've had when ARP existed, they were funding a theater out at the teen center, and and they had the latest movies going. I don't know what the attendance was, and it didn't cost very much to go out there. It was a very nice environment.
Yeah, I know. That's where I used to have some of my feedings. That's where, and he was allowing me to do it for free there. So I have to put that in too. I appreciate him for that. Yeah.
But it has everything to do with something I said yesterday, and that's you have to have leadership that gets the old and new money coming to the table, sitting at the table. You have to have a sustainment plan for whatever is built. I mean, I might be, I know at least two of us might remember when the theater burned down.
I don't. What year was that?
It was in the 70s, I believe. It was, but I mean, there's stories. If you look up the history on the theater, you'll find out that basically there was a section for us and a section for them. Right. Even in the theater,
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember that because I think Charles Andrews shares his story of the first time he went, and he was actually sitting in the black section. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, good riddance then. Well, I think that we, there's a lot of history in Monroeville. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad history. And honestly, I can honestly say, I'm going to go back and I'm going to answer the racism question. Have I ever experienced racism? I'm going to be completely 100, as I always am. When I was living in Monroeville, I did not see that. I did not experience it because I was that person that I just like to be around everybody. I didn't care about race. I mean, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't until I went back there as an adult that I realized when I start going through all this stuff and trying to do things in Monroeville to make a difference, and I realized how it was almost like I never existed. I was like, this was really going on? They're like, yeah. And I felt like I had just been living under a rock or something, because I didn't realize that the lynchings happened in Monroeville. I didn't realize that we had places that we couldn't go, because when I remember going everywhere I wanted to go, right, Desha? I mean, don't you guys remember that? I remember
Right.
going everywhere I wanted to go. I
Well,
don't remember ever being turned away from anything.
I can remember when my dad taught at Union High School.
Wow.
And so we didn't know that there was another high school. I can remember when Union High School was closed and Daddy started teaching at the junior high. I can remember that. But the why of that, I really didn't understand until later on.
And, right.
I was
Wow.
a principal in Selma for 2 years. And as I run about the city, I learned that there was a black school and a white school on every side of town, basically. Yes. So, you know, it's
And what year was that?
She said it was the early. Oh,
2007. Are you talking about the theater, early 70s?
No, Selma. When
I was there 2015 through 17. And so there, yeah, so, you know, that's how they had it set up. And you can still see remnants of that, you know. So,
wow.
I mean, you know, Union High School, there is a reason why we should really, that's another thing that we should do.
Yes.
Figure out a way to support it, you know. And I left my 2 cents many times on how we could support that. You know, it's a historic.
We need to work together, Alan, because it seems like we're following each other's footsteps. Because
Yes.
before Claudette Lamar passed away, she and I had conversations. She was an incredible woman. Let me just tell you guys. And she was fighting. A lot of people may not know this, but she was fighting to revamp Union High, because her father is the one that started it.
Yeah,
Horace Lamar, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And she was fighting to try to save that. And she had talked to me about helping her do that. This is right before she passed away. And so we had started that. And where I started was going to the Bethlehem Association, because that's who owns it now.
Yes.
Yes. And that's where it stopped. Because right now, what that building is used for is just meetings. And it's a shame, because it's an eyesore for the community. It is at this point. I think that it's time to revamp it. What do you remember about that building, Deetra? Because I have fond memories of Union High. What do you?
Fond memories. It was a great school. I don't know why it came to such a halt, and I think it could be more beneficial to the community.
Well,
It could, than just sitting there rotten.
Well, the reason that it has come to a halt is because the city allowed Head Start to go on the other side of town.
Right.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So now there's nothing going on in that building but what the association has going on in that building.
Yes.
But that building could be declared, well, it is a historic site. Once again, if the association would accept the help, the federal help, then that building could be restored. If you're facing the building, that whole left side over there on Mr. Lamar's side, that whole left side, the reason it's closed off is because that side has never been cleared of asbestos. That's why it's still closed. Yes.
Well, if there are any traces of asbestos, they may as well knock it down.
Yeah, but they cleared all of they cleared all of the asbestos here from everywhere else.
On the other.
So why do you say that, Deetra? Is it because you can't operate in a building, obviously, with asbestos?
You are almost
asking for a lawsuit.
No, you're going to get cancer. It's gonna give you
Okay.
cancer. Asbestos is.
Yes, I mean, but
Exposure will.
they have, you know, there are companies who that's one of the sole things that they do, clear asbestos out of buildings, you know. And actually, at one point, they had already gotten the costs for removal. There's a whole hallway of classroom space that will be available soon as that's cleared out of there, you know. But the right people, you know, you have to go through the moderator. Ella, that's who you have to go through.
Okay, let me change that. Claudette's it was Claudette's grandfather. Horace is her grandfather, because Mr. Lamar is her
It's her dad.
dad, right?
Yeah.
So you're right, Claudette. Thank you. She's always checking. I love you, sweetie. I love you. Love you. Yeah, I remember Union High as being a place where we went on the summers for the program for the youth, where they would let us come there, play, give us a lunch, send us home somewhere for something for us to do in the summertime. I remember a place where you could go there at night and take like ceramic class. It was something you could get involved with. It's extracurricular type stuff. And I think we should get that. We should talk about that later, Alan, Deetra, and Laura. We welcome you to come and be a part of helping us revamp too. But I think we should definitely have a conversation about that. But where I was going with the racism is that, yes, I have experienced it. And for me, I experienced it more than enough in the workplace. That's where I experience it. Because you are in Florida. I don't know how it is in Georgia or how it is in Huntsville or in Montgomery, but in Florida, Orlando, you know, the workplace had become this kind of place where you know, I know that you may be intelligent, but now you keep that to a certain level. I don't want you to stand out. And definitely you're not going to embarrass anyone of our culture, because that happens, we'll shut you down. And when you're the kind of person that you're not trying to be this way, it's just natural for you to be this way. You can't turn it off when you're not faking. And you either make a decision, I'm going to be how they want me to be so I can keep this check, or I'm going to say, to hell with you. I'm going to be who I am. Like it or leave it. Now, which one do you think I chose?
Be who you are.
Yeah.
Who you are. And I can say
it costs you though, Deetra. It costs you sometimes.
It does cost you. And
it costs you.
But it costs them too.
Yeah. And you be who you need to be until you can be who you want to be.
Girl, say that again. That's good, wasn't it, Laura? Say it again, Deetra. That was, yes.
Who you need to be until you can be who you want to be. So you make enough money working for someone else until you can work for yourself. And that's one thing. We were taught to go to school. We were taught to work hard. And we were taught to go get a good job. Since I have mixed in with the international community, they are not taught to go to work for somebody else. They create their own job. They come here. They are going to create their own job some kind of way. Very few of the international community migrate into the United States and get jobs where they're working for people. Probably some of the tech, high-level technology people in the medical industry. But most of those people come here and they are operating small companies enough to take care of their families. And that's what we need to be pushing. That'll help a whole lot of our kids, especially the young boys who want to be entrepreneurs and choosing the wrong product. But we need to push that a whole lot in our community. Work for yourself.
Very
be
good.
an entrepreneur.
I love it.
Sell printer paper, cut grass. It's something that everybody can do to run their own company and generate their own money. And I think we need to start looking at things from that perspective, because a lot of kids don't want to go to 4-year college anymore, but they are smart enough if you start real small,
Yes.
invest $500 into some good lawn equipment, that may lead to something else in 5 or 10 years.
That's
you know.
right. I'm
But-
gonna let you chime in a little bit, Laura. I know you're there and you're just like, oh, I want to talk. Let me bring you up there.
Hey, any specific question? I mean, I'm loving the conversation, but did you have a specific?
Well, I just wanted you to chime in on what we're saying because you may want to add, because I was talking about racism. I experienced it in corporate America, and that's where I've always experienced it. And I am one of those kind of people who I'm not going to back down. That's just not in my, just not in me. And it has cost me a few jobs. Just gonna say that. But it's okay because God is working on something to move me to where I really want to be anyway. I'm like Dietrich said, you get that money, be what I need to be for right now, because I already know I have a plan. So when you know that, you're okay. But just for the record, I was a whistleblower, and they found out. And they fired me. Do I regret it? Absolutely not, because it saved people's lives.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say on that one. But it does cost you something.
I, in my experience, and I've had a long career with the United Methodist Church for 20 years, and then I went on and did a lot of other things. And one of the things I did is go to work for the state of Alabama. And I noticed that in work where you are part of a merit system, they have to be very careful about promotions and hiring and firing. But I've been turned down for jobs before because I'm not the right color. They were looking for somebody who was black, whatever. Usually I have found that they would hire a black before they'd hire me because I'm white. And
why do you say that?
Well,
why do you say that?
Because I've just seen it and I've heard it unofficially, and it's not just the state; it's other places too. And that's something that might be surprising to some people, that a white person would feel like they were being discriminated against because they weren't being given opportunities to advance in their career. But I think with as much pressure as some organizations, including the state, felt to make sure that there was a blend of every race represented in every position, that sometimes there were people who got overlooked and stepped over, not just because of age or experience, but simply because of race. It's very unfortunate, and I'm not the only person who's experienced it either. But I don't carry any great animosity. I just pick myself up and go on and keep going, keep doing.
Now
you're not the first Caucasian lady that I've heard say that.
Mm-hmm.
Because people think that different agencies and companies are meeting a quota as far as hiring minorities to get different tax breaks and things like that. So, I have heard that before.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, Laura. I think that you're muted. Hold on a second, sweetie. Okay, go ahead. What were you saying? You were muted.
Oh, I said it hurts. It hurts because it is a form of racism. I feel like it is. Racism is not always perceived by one race over another. It goes both ways, and I have felt it. It makes me feel bad because I am underneath this white skin, the same person I would be no matter what color I was. I don't feel like that my skin represents who I am. And of course, with the advent of DNA, I've been excited to find out just how blended I am. I have DNA hits in every continent except Australia. So
All right then.
I'm very blended. Very
Well,
blended.
sister,
Mhm.
what's
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, you're always. I'm gonna mute you so it's not. But you're always welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. You're family now. Anybody that comes on this broadcast, your family, your values, your conversation is always welcomed because we welcome everybody here. But Alan, I want you to say something about that, and then we're gonna wrap up. I want you to say something about what Laura just said because she made a very good point. And you can add to Deetra, but she made a good point that racism goes both ways because we do present the racism, especially with what's going on in reference to like the petition. That was definitely one way, but she brings out a good point that it goes both ways. What do you say to that?
Well, I say that, it just rings very true, even with me retiring and, getting ready to go back to work to whatever kind of job, whatever's next, I've run into roadblocks as well, we don't want to hire anybody with that much experience. We're going to have to pay them too much money.
Yeah.
Right.
Age discrimination, that's the next thing, so you just have to go about not releasing your values, as a person. You keep your values.
Yes.
And just like Deshaun said, you do what you do, and for me, in my case, you might have to reinvent yourself, so to speak.
Right.
Good point.
That's what I feel like I'm doing. I'm reinventing myself, so that real soon I'm going to reintroduce myself.
Right.
The real people know who I am, but hey, every day provides an opportunity for you to increase your network and your net worth. So
Yes, sir.
so you have to be willing. Somebody, one of my professors, along the way said something that really stuck with me. And what they said was, when it's time, you'll know it. Don't have somebody else to tell you it's time.
Yes.
When it's time to quit, when it's time to really retire, don't let somebody have to tell you that.
Absolutely.
When you are no longer effective or when you're no longer impactful, it's time to pack it up. Let me help you pack if necessary, but it's time. So
I like it.
it's nothing wrong with that. A lot of times, you can drop into a depressed mode, because, oh my goodness, if I stop doing what I'm doing, I'll just fall apart. No, use that energy to still help somebody along the way. If I can help,
Amen.
then your living is not in vain. So as long as you have the energy and the wherewithal to be impactful, then keep it moving.
That's
keep
right.
it moving.
You want to add something to that, Deetra?
I think it was very well stated. Very well stated, Alan. I think that's
Thank
a
you.
great point that Laura brought up, that we can't look at racism just one way. Racism upon one race, and as Alan stated, the age thing, overqualification, bridging into a different career, reinventing ourselves. Most of the conversation has been about the youth, but Alan has really opened the door on something else that's really what I'm dealing with, what Laura is dealing with, what our age group is dealing with right now, and really got to be concerned about in our careers, staying on top, the competition, the age factor. At what point do we retire from one career and bridge over to something else, reinventing ourselves, staying relevant,
Right.
sustaining what we have. So I appreciate the conversation with you all. I do think conversation and communication help us all to grow.
I agree.
You know,
Mhm.
I love learning from all of you. I would like to know the city that Laura lives in. Where
She's in
Bermuda.
Montgomery.
she's in Montgomery. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. You know, and just to hear Laura's perspective, she's in Montgomery and raising a mixed kid. So that's awesome to hear that things are going well, you know, for you all, you know, in spite of the little, you know, things you see in other people. But, you know, I'm hopeful for myself, for my kids, when I can speak to you all, and I haven't spoken to you all in years, and see that we have a lot of like minds out there. Who else was on here last week that was chiming in? Letitia and
Crystal and a
Red.
lot of different people.
Yeah, Crystal Tucker. I call
Right.
her Red Velvet.
Yeah.
Red
Yeah, she
Velvet.
has branded herself into a red velvet. I love it. I love Crystal. I have a lot of conversations with her. Yeah.
So, you know, but Ella, I think one thing that we could possibly do is
Okay.
probably build an alliance. And once we build that alliance, maybe whatever industry, we can have small groups of, you know, whatever, all the teachers and the educators together, all the technology people, all the medical people. But if we could build some type of alliance or consortium, and then work with the people who have initiated grassroots programs, you know, listen to the mayor, you know, the mayor might not be quite as savvy as somebody with a whole lot of computer marketing, you know, but we do need to help reach some industries to try to get them to Monroeville. Somebody, you know, somebody in the technology world making some type of little disc or something that'll put a plant down there. But, you know, anybody that's trying to do anything, if they are willing, if we could create that bridge, we could help, you know, lift our hometown up.
I love it. I love that, Deidre. That sounded like somebody who was running for office. I would have voted for you. I would have been like, yeah, I vote for Deidre. It won't be like how when I ran for office in high school, like I had no political insight whatsoever. I was just up there. I think I said something like, voting for me. If you don't vote for me, you're like Orange Juice Jones, a squirrel trying to get a nut or something like that. And I won. Alan, Deidre, Laura, I won. I'm like, I'm not even the best one. Like she came and said, I'm going to make sure that you guys that you have hall passes, that there's going to be extra time to get to your bus. And I was sitting there like, that's good, girl, do that. And then I come up with this dumb line that I took from a rapper and won.
He had a hook.
Well, be encouraged, because I know somebody else that had one like that and they won too. So
talk about your brother.
No, all things are possible.
Okay, now who are you talking about? I do need to know.
And they are a senator now.
They're a senator now.
Who? In Alabama.
Who? I'm sorry. I feel bad that I don't know who the senators in Alabama are, but just cut me some slack.
The guy that used to be a football coach, I mean, his line was about that long.
Tuberville.
Kwame Tuberville. His line was about that long. He's in D.C. right now.
Wait a minute. He went to Monroe County High School?
No. I'm just saying. You were mentioning that your line was, you know, what you would consider probably.
So you're saying I could make it to Washington with that? If he could make it,
possibly.
Yes.
A good hook. Come up with
I don't know if I would be a good politician because I'm too real. And I can't be bought, and you're not going to tell me what to say. So I would probably last a week. I want to make a change, but I think God is going to use me in a different way to fit the best that I have to give. And I really like what you said, Deidre, and I'm going to be reaching out to you and Claudette and Kim and you, Alan. Because I think, and Stephanie and Yolanda, all the people that were on the broadcast and different people that chimed in to build that alliance you're talking about. Because I think that that's the only way Monroeville is going to thrive. We're going to have to lend a hand. I really believe that. I do. And we want you to be a part of that too, Laura, because you may have contacts with people. You might know a billionaire right now, and all they need to do is just write a check. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, I don't care if they got a bag of coins and it's $50 million worth of coins. Let's rebuild Clausell. Let's build Limestone. Let's give hope back to Monroeville. I'm all for that. Let's go back to our high school and bring programs back. I know Anthony J. Clausell, I've been talking with him. He wants to take the drum line to Monroeville, Alan. You know, he's an alumni of Alabama A&M.
Mm-hmm. That would
And
be
he
very
wants to take a percussion, you know, because he's the owner of the Anthony J. Clausell Percussion Academy in Chicago. So he wants to take a program. I had a chance to look at it, and he wants to take that to Monroeville to give the kids an opportunity to be taught by someone that excels in that area so that they can have maybe even earn a scholarship to go to his school and compete for the, you know, drumline, different things like that. I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
What I'll say, and I have to, like I said, I have my youngest son is on the road, but what I will say, that sounds great. But if the mayor if he can't bring the new money and old money to the table, what I would also tell anybody who is interested in investing in Monroeville, bring your own money. Don't have to come to Monroeville and then go to a bank in Monroeville.
Oh,
right.
If you bring your own money, then there's a better chance that you'll be able to invest in Monroeville. But the red tape is them trying to figure out how they can get a piece of the pie. And their pie is still very small. Their way of thinking seems to still be shallow. They're not thinking out of the box. They're still in the same old traditional box that we remember from 1980. And
so you're saying then if we're going to implement this, we're going to have to first help change the mindsets before we can even get in there. Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am. Conversations have to happen where they are thinking out of the box. They got to get out of the TI-35 calculator days and come on up to
they've changed. Woo, they've changed.
You know, so, you know,
yes.
I mean, so many things have changed. We used to, I mean, I could talk all day, but, you know, we're dealing with a different generation, so we got to think like the generation. We can relish in what we learned and how we got over, but we got to remember, I said it yesterday, we have to remember the audience that we're dealing with in every decision that we make.
Right.
You know, we have to. If not, it will not be able to be sustained. Whatever the effort is, it won't be able to be sustained.
Well, I think this has been a great conversation, guys, these 2 nights. I know we started out with the Johnny D. We talked about George Floyd. We talked about Monroeville. And that's exactly what we meant to do. We meant to do that. If you've been watching the broadcast and following us, you see that because we presented a problem, but we've also offered a solution as well. And that solution is that it's time for all of us, whites, blacks, Caucasians are whites. I'm sorry. I'm trying to give y'all another race. Well, I guess some people are white, some are Caucasians. I guess it's all in the attitude. But anyway, we all have to come together. And that's what this was. And that's why I wanted to have a diverse group, because we have to start listening to one another. And Laura, I appreciate you for being open to share with us that there's racism on both sides. We appreciate that. Yes. And it was great that we can have that mature conversation and listen to you. Because we have to stop just wanting to be heard, but we have to be willing to listen to others as well. And we're going to think about you when we're ready to build that alliance, so you can bring some of those $1 million check writers. Yeah. We're going to need a couple of them.
And we need all perspectives. You know, we need.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Too many solos, you know, like we talked about, too many solos and not enough choirs.
Right.
Ooh, Did you have now, Alan? That's great. That's a great analogy. When you were the piano guy, did you have people that always wanted to lead a song? I know I never did. Did you, Deetra? I never wanted to lead a song.
We knew who was going to lead, you know. Pretty much had already practiced over the phone, you know. Yeah, you know, the list was formed. Yeah,
that's true. Well, you know, we were those backups anyway. I'm not trying to be in the line, but I did lead one though. You remember that, Deetra? The one that I did lead.
Yeah.
And I remember we had to give you know how we had to always give an A and B selection. Well, we gonna ask the junior choir to come up here and give us an A and B, and it just so happened to be that day that I had on a hat. And from that moment, we were known as Prince and the Revolution. Y'all were wrong for that. Because Marsha Dean started that. But y'all were wrong for that. But see how much fun we had even at church, guys. We looked forward to going afterwards. Remember when we had certain churches that we like to go to because we knew they gave good food. We're like, you know, over there at Missionary Baptist, you know, they give good cake. I think I remember you saying that one time, Deetra. And we were like, show it, you know. But I want to say something about Carabelle, and because it's just on my spirit to say it. I love her because she's a woman all of us know. All of us can relate to Carabelle. Yeah. And when we were kids, we remember how people would talk about Carabelle and say this and say that. But I never felt that with her. Because even to this day, and I am years old, she still remembers my name.
She remembers us and she loves us.
Every single one of us.
Yeah.
Ella, come on over here. What you doing? What color? Your hair wasn't like that last time I saw you. You tell you. I said, well, care about their wigs. You don't need that. Wear your natural hair. Wear what God gave you. And I'm like, well, care about things have changed. We wearing wigs. I don't have time to press my hair. Right. You ain't never had no problem. I'm going to tell your mama. I'm going to tell your mama on you. But I love her. I love her because when I go home, I need that, Alan and Deetra and Laura. I need to be reminded and taken back to my roots. That's so very important to me when I'm getting ready to do anything, because it's something about the air there, just being outside, standing at Bethel, looking at Bethel. I can't help but have flashbacks of the green robes. Y'all remember the green robes? I have flashbacks of the visits to Selma for the conventions. Mm-hmm. I remember the one march. I don't know if you guys remember the march that we were in. I think Miss Odom is the one that kind of got us in that process, where we actually marched with Jesse Jackson, because me and somebody almost missed the bus trying to wait for him. And I got a kiss on the cheek. And I was like, I'll never wash that side of my face again. How naive I was. But you know, those experiences, I remember. I remember being on Billy G's campaign. Do you guys remember campaigning with Billy G?
Mm-hmm. When he first started.
I remember when we were kids and we used to clean up the streets. They would take us on a Saturday and we would go up and down the street and pick up trash. You see what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff we have to take back to Monroeville. But we got to start with the adults there, because they're the ones that are going to have to make these kids want to do it. I know it's not going to be easy. These kids would rather sit at home and play Xbox. They don't want to get outside. Y'all remember when we were kids, we couldn't stay in the house.
That really taught us a lot. You remember we had to go to the nursing home. And that's one thing I think all kids should have to do, is go to the nursing home and visit.
Girl, I got to tell y'all a funny story. I'm going to say the N word, but I got to tell this story. I remember one time we went to the nursing home, and I know it was you, Deetra, because it was always me, you, Janetta, Kim, Kelvin, Marsha. It was always, and Tracy, it was always that group. We were always everywhere. And I remember we went to the nursing home, the one down there by the hospital, and we were standing there and we're just singing and singing and singing. And this lady, she was like, she actually said, "Nigger, get out my way, I can't see." And I was like stunned, because everybody was like, "Ella, shut your mouth and sing." I'm like, but you got to give me a minute. I'm singing here for her. And she was like, "Nigga, get out," you know, and I didn't, but you know what? What's so funny is I didn't get mad. Why didn't I get mad? Because I didn't know what it meant. Right. And now I figured out what it meant when Miss Barbara Wilson paddled me. You know, I got 4 licks for saying that word one time. 4 licks, Laura. 4 licks. And I said the N-word to Jenny Dice. And Miss Barbara heard it. And she took me outside. I was like, well, she called me hunky. Because that was the other part. I was like, but you didn't hear that part, right? But anyway, nonetheless, guys, but we're gonna let me let you say something, Laura. Bless her heart. I feel like she's trying to breathe and can't breathe, and I'm just not letting her breathe.
No, I was going to say I would have been spanked for saying that word as well. Well, we didn't say that word in our home, and nor did we say anything. My father wouldn't even let me use the word funky for describing music. It was too blue for him, and which my friends think is hilarious, but we weren't allowed to say anything that was derogatory to describe somebody's race. That was just wrong. It was wrong on so many levels. So it was respect for everyone.
All right.
No matter what.
It
Okay.
was good to
Mhm.
hear your father's explanation on Jim Crow too, the way he explained it to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we are going to get out of here. It has been a wonderful 2 nights. I am looking forward to the night when I will talk with Pete Early. I am really looking forward to that. And I hope that you guys will all tune in, everybody that's out there. But next week, I am going to be, I'm having Charlie Starworth on the show. I am excited about that. He is also going to weigh in on this petition. And he actually has some great advice. And I want him to share that on the broadcast on where he thought, because he actually told me that it was a little watered down. So he's going to tell y'all a little bit about that next week, right here on the Ella Johnson Show. So I'm really looking forward to that because he's very well respected. You guys all know who I'm talking about, right? And because
Yes.
he's a representative out in Connecticut now, I think it is. And he's going to be here on the broadcast next week. We're bringing great quality guests here, guys. You guys are quality. You guys spent 2 nights with me. So that's pretty incredible. But you will be back. You do know that. And you guys get free T-shirts. I'm going to have my assistant send you guys an email. If you guys give me your email address and get your address to me, I'll make sure you guys get free Ella Johnson Show T-shirts. I don't have a car yet for you. I don't have a car for you. Right now, I just got a T-shirt. And it's a one-sided T-shirt. I don't even have anything on the back, Deshaun. You understand? But we're going to laugh about this today when I can say, you get a car, and you get a car. But
Yeah,
mine
we
is going to be,
appreciate the T-shirt. Thank
we
you.
appreciate
That's
it.
right. Thank you.
That's right. One day. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys all. Thank you all so much who have tuned in to the Ella Johnson Show. And we'll see you next time right here at 8 p.m. next Wednesday. YouTube and Facebook Live. Have a great evening. We'll see you, everybody.
Good
All
night.
right.
All right.
Thanks for
guys.
tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show.